Can you hold the mic there?
How come the mic's not in instead? Stand there, the mic's not.
I think we're going to use Oh, it's wireless.
That's not
all right.
Keep the attitude. It's me.
So yeah.
This is all
For those who are able to stand, would you please rise for the presentation of colors? left, face.
Many thanks tonight to the Lone Star chapter of the Paralyzed Veterans of America Wheelchair Honor Guard. Would you please welcome to the stage at this time Mr. P.J. LaCour, who will be singing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Honor Guard, retire the colors.
Under Chris Turner. Left, face. Forward, march.
You may be seated. So welcome. On behalf of the Jeffrey Ford Texas campaign, we'd like to welcome you this evening to our Governor Memorial Announcement Rally.
Good evening, friends, old and new. Before I start my speech, I'm going to do a little housekeeping here. Now, this evening, we are having a rally. We are here to welcome Jeffrey on his announcement. And you all have signs, so every time you see Jeffrey, every time you see Sergio, or every time I go like this, well, let's hold our signs up in the air and make a whole lot of noise. There. All right, now, I grew up watching a movie called Giant, and it was set in Texas, and they were all there hooting and hollering. So I heard hoot, but I didn't hear hollering. So we're going to try this again. When I put my hands in the air, that's what we got going on here. All right. So, I am so glad that you could join us this evening for what is one of the most exciting nights of my life. I want to thank the Hyatt Regency for allowing us to be in this spectacular room and for putting on such a delicious spread. Good evening to our esteemed members of the press who are here to cover such a wonderful moment. May I ask those of you who are on the cameras to please use that special filter that makes me look 50 pounds less and 10 years younger. For those of you who are the writing journalists, please remember when writing your articles that I am 35, rakishly handsome, and refreshingly entertaining. Good evening, and thank you to all of the campaign staff and to the volunteers who have made this happen. Without you, we are two men yelling on a street corner with a megaphone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And while I'm speaking of our volunteers, I will not miss this chance to make a shameless plug to all of you. Please visit our volunteer coordinator outside, Mr. Christopher Stinnett, and sign up. We are a grassroots campaign, and as my grandmother always said, many hands make for light work. I would like to say hi to my mother, who flew all the way in from Bermuda to support Jeffrey. Hi, Mom. Thank you. So by now, some of you are wondering, okay, who is this man that grabbed the microphone and why hasn't security stopped him yet? Well, let me tell you a little story. Monday, the 6th of February, Jeffrey walked into his office and called me in to follow him. My first thought was, this can't be good. Sternly, he looked at me and said, "What do you think of me running for governor?" I was still on the running part because he and Sergio were in the middle of getting ready for their wedding. So my response was, well, make sure you have the right kind of shoes. Then I realized what he was saying. We both laughed and went about our day. Fast forward to the beginning of June, when once again I got called into the office and he said, "I'm serious about running for governor, and you knew this was coming. I want you to be my campaign manager. What do you think?" Well, I needed to think about it, and yeah, I really needed that right pair of shoes. So that night I headed over to the local book/coffee shop. Amazing books, horrible coffee. But 4 cups later, and I'm out the door with a list of pros and cons, and no further along than I was before. But one thing that I had on both my pro and con list was, does he have what it takes? Long story short, like the best decisions I have made in my past, I took a deep breath and jumped in both feet. Speaking of best decisions and jumping in both feet, I would like to take a moment here to thank my husband. We have been together for the last 15 years, legally married for the last 3 years, and transplanted back to Dallas for the last 18 months. So many times you hear candidates and office holders talk about their spouses being supportive. Now I understand. He has been above and beyond in his patience and unwavering support. Thank you, baby cakes, and I will see you at Thanksgiving. Ann Richards said once, "I thought I knew Texas pretty well, but I had no idea of its size until I campaigned it." She was not kidding. Tomorrow we head to Fort Worth for the start of our campaign road trip. Over the next 6 weeks, we will be in Brownsville, Texas City, Laredo, Uvalde, Austin, El Paso, San Antonio, Lubbock, Midland, Fort Stockton, Fort Worth, Del Rio, San Angelo, Tyler, Wichita Falls, and parts in between. We are going to cover it all. And here are some fun facts that I want to share with you that I've learned. Houston to New York City is 1,416-mile drive. Give or take a few detours, or if you're with me, you get lost. That's like driving from Houston to El Paso and back. The distance from Houston to Dallas is about the same distance from Paris to London. And San Diego is closer to El Paso than Dallas is. And we are going to see it all. Well, okay, a lot of it. We are going to meet all sorts of people along the way. Some will like us, some will love us, and some, well, let's not hope too many, will not like us at all. We are going to meet the people that make up the tapestry we call Texas. I know there will be a lot of no-tells and motels, gas station cuisine, and a sizable investment in antacid. This all sounds very glamorous, so why am I doing this? Why am I supporting Jeffrey Payne for governor of Texas in 2018? The answer is simple, really. He is the best man for the job. I hope that you will join me over the next year to help elect Jeffrey to the governor's seat. It will not be an easy fight. Nothing worth having ever is. We will need all of your help. Yes, sign up for the call banks. Yes, volunteer to host parties and get-togethers. Yes, help us stuff envelopes and mail flyers. Tell all of your friends and families and neighbors and strangers on the street that Jeffrey is the right man for governor. It is when we, all of us in this room, raise our voices together and say, enough, enough, enough. We deserve the best man running the state. And yes, contribute to the campaign. Whether it is $1 or $1 million, I had to throw that in there. We are in this fight together. I met Jeffrey almost 10 years ago at a fundraising party. At the time, he was running for another title when I was introduced to him. He confidently shook my hand, we exchanged pleasantries, and I thought, this is the best they could get. Over the next year, Jeffrey and I forged a great friendship. I got to know the man that he is, and then went on to see him win. So now, 10 years later, we're doing it all over again. And I can confidently say to all of you in this room, that Jeffrey Payne has what it takes. He is the best that not only we can get, but he is the best we can hope for. Jeffrey Payne is the man that can turn the tide for Texas. Jeffrey Payne is the man that will rise for Texas and will bring a voice of reason, calm, and fairness to Austin. And here we go. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage at this time, Russell Amalia.
My name is Russell Payne. I am glad to be here tonight. I started out my adult life as a private in the United States Army. I come from a military family. My grandfather was a medic in World War II. I will never forget the day he learned of my dream to become a soldier. That day he handed me his uniform. I wore it with tears of joy and deep pride in my heart. My grandpa's beaming smile told me how proud he was. I knew my path. I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself, something greater where I could make a positive difference in the world. Unfortunately, my path took an unexpected turn very quickly. In a short time I served, there was a serious training accident, which I survived. However, the end of a long story is I found myself permanently residing in this wheelchair. Well, that desire to do something greater didn't go away. Finding myself in a new set of circumstances, I had to redirect my drive in my life, which is why I am a part of the only paralyzed veterans wheelchair honor guard in our nation. I volunteer at the Dallas VA Hospital in the Spinal Cord Injury Unit. I'm a member of the Dallas United Crew rowing that teams up with the Paralyzed Veterans of America in Dallas. And when I have free time, I'm involved with Rise Adaptive Sports. I am one of the co-founders of Veterans for Diversity organization, and I play tuba in the Oakland Band, which is part of a larger organization called Lesbian Gay Bands Association. Like I said, I have a drive and a need to feel it was strong. One of the best places I do a lot of work is with the Veterans for Diversity. We started in 2008 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we saw a need, or rather several needs. We wanted to help veterans and the LGBT community successfully get through the VA system. We also wanted to educate the VA staff of concerns and issues about our community. Our work was a success, and it became obvious that our work was definitely needed. So we continued this in the Dallas chapter, which is how I met Jeffrey Payne. One evening, the members of Veterans for Diversity decided to go out and have a social evening together. We heard about trivia night at the Dallas Eagle, so we stopped by. We had so much fun as Jeffrey ran the trivia game that we went back several times. As I got to know Jeffrey, I found him to be a sincere man with a heart of gold. I came to realize that if he says it, he means it. And I could count on him when life gets rough. He's become a dear friend to me. And when you are a gay, transgender, Hispanic man in a wheelchair, sincere friendship means more than I can even begin to express to you tonight. Jeffrey has been there for me when he didn't have to. And when I was too proud to ask. He treats me with respect. He honors me by simply being a good, caring friend who acts without hesitation. I hope you will take the time to get to know Jeffrey Payne. He has done so much for me and for our community. I'm excited to see what he can do for our great state of Texas. I know he can bring change, and with all of our support, he will be the first Texas governor in a very long time to bring real change to all of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Please welcome to the stage this time, Ms. Shalonda Manning.
Good evening. I am Shalonda Manning. I'm an educated professional with a master's degree, a wife, a mom, a nana, an active member of my Baptist church and our choir. And I'm a taxpayer. And with all of that, I am a woman. I am a woman who lives in and loves our Texas. So I want to see the hands go up. Yeah! So, but despite the antics of our state government, I still love Texas. But the same antics are told by politicians is their definition of taking care of us. The definition of care that I found on Google it said the provisions of what is necessary for the health, the welfare, the maintenance, and protection of someone or something. When I look at many of their policies that have become laws, I don't believe our government has lived up to their definition of care. I have also spent a lifetime caring for people, and I agree with the Google-led definition. Texas government has done anything but care for us. In light of that, I believe it's time for a change, and that change is needed now. The founding fathers of this nation never meant for the birth of politicians. Government was to be taken on by everyday citizens who took a reprieve from their own lives. And they served the nation for a time. And then they returned to their lives having bettered the nation. Instead, we have politicians who have been in office for literally decades. These people have made a career out of getting themselves reelected on the backs of those they were meant to serve. Aren't you tired of it? I know I am too. And I know my good friend Jeffrey Payne is too. I met Jeffrey in my professional life. We worked numerous times together. I found him to be one of the most professional and kind people I've ever had the pleasure of working with. He's genuine. He is a sweet soul who sincerely appreciates people and makes sure that each one of them knows it. And no matter what the challenge is, he walks in it, a determined man ready to find a solution. He takes time out needed to work out issues and stays at the table until it's done. In business and in life, he has consistently shown me caring, determined man exactly is who he is. Let me tell you about an evening I was privileged to observe. I watched this man, Jeffrey Payne, take on the responsibility of another man's life. A man who was ready to take his own as he dwelled in a dark place in his heart filled with pain. He sat gently next to that man, talking in quiet tones, and he stayed next to his side until he had lifted the man's spirit. Jeffrey walked him back towards the light of hope, and understanding that he was better than that, and taking his own life wasn't the answer. I am honored and humbled to call this man my friend. See, Jeffrey takes time for people, and that's why he's running for governor. Seeing people suffer as they have for the past many years here in Texas with the government raging over us is something he just can't sit by and watch anymore. That's why I'm here, to tell you about what I've seen in this man. He's not going to be a good old boy willing to keep it the same either. He wants to open up opportunities for everyone. He doesn't care what color you are, what religion you practice, what abilities you have, what's your sexual orientation or your gender. He knows what I know, that everyone bleeds the same. As a citizen of Texas, we've been bleeding for a long time. And guess what? Now it's time for us to put a stop to it. This man is going to bless many in our state. He's willing to rise up, take blunt force of what the naysayers say, no matter what they throw at him, in hopes of bringing every Texan the opportunities of a life well-deserved. Rise with me, rise with Jeffrey, and let's bring sanity back to Texas government. Thank you.
Let's continue to rise. If you would please, everybody join us here in the center of the room as we welcome now to the stage Sergio Zaragoza.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sergio, and I'm Jeffrey's husband. Yeah! Thank you. During the next few months, we will hear all about Jeffrey, the businessman, the philanthropic, and the leader. But there's a lot more to Jeffrey. It is essential for everybody to know the man, the husband, and the humanitarian to understand why Jeffrey can and will make a difference for Texas. I'm here today to tell his story. And folks, get your tissues out. It is a very emotional one, but I promise it does have a happy ending. At the age of 3, Jeffrey lost his mother, and just a few years later was abandoned by his father. Left under the care of a very abusive person that has beaten him, emotionally abused. Jeffrey, at the age of 3, suffered what for many of us would be a nightmare, domestic violence. Later on, he was literally dropped off at an orphanage. At a very young age, under the care of strangers, Jeffrey learned what compassion meant, as those who cared for him did their best to provide for him and fulfill the roles of his parents. Then at 15, Jeffrey was placed under the foster care system and lived with a family and other foster care children. Now a young adult, Jeffrey applied himself to school and attended as many extracurricular activities he could. He knew that was his chance to make something of himself. As an adult, Jeffrey opened a jewelry store and later on went to work for the Louisiana Department of Labor, overseeing government programs and serving as a mediator for employment cases. Things were good, but life had other plans for Jeffrey. In the summer of 2005, Louisiana was hit by Hurricane Katrina, and in the aftermath of the storm, Jeffrey and like many others lost everything. With the slow response of the government and with no other options, Jeffrey had to make the harsh decision of abandoning his house, his cars, and all his possessions, and he left his home in Louisiana. On the rush of escaping for safety, Jeffrey took only the things that mattered the most to him. A picture of his mother, a teddy bear that his mother gave to him when he was 1 year old, and his 2 dogs, Isabella and Lucy. With no house, no job, and very little money, Jeffrey had to start his life over, and Texas was good to him. With hard work, determination, Jeffrey thrived and proved over and over that failure is not an option for him. But success is not everything for Jeffrey. Helping those in need is his way to show his gratitude for Texas. Jeffrey has helped several charity causes and organizations raise hundreds of thousands of dollars and is known as one of the most giving members of our community. And his determination in helping others doesn't end at just fundraising. About a year ago, unhappy and frustrated with our government, their one-sided agenda, their lack of compassion, Jeffrey began to speak about running for office. As I listened to him, his thoughts, his ideas, and his plans for Texas, I realized that he was not kidding. No. In 2017 came, and suddenly it became okay for our government to disregard public opinion, to start passing hate bills, call for silly legislations, and just plain don't care for spending public money. He knew the less privileged ones would be the most affected. Aggravated with what was happening in Austin, Jeffrey took the leap and started assembling the team for his campaign. I remember the night before the night before he was supposed to submit his paperwork for the campaign. We're sitting at dinner, and I asked him why did he want to be governor. And to this day, his answer is still imprinted in my mind. Jeffrey said, there are very few times we get a chance to make a difference in people's lives. This is my chance. And folks, this is the reason why we're out here tonight, because there are very few times that we can make a difference, and now is that time. So please help me welcome to the stage my husband, the man that will help Texas rise, and your next Texas Governor, Jeffrey Payne. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. In all honesty, would y'all please give it up for my husband again? I would not be here if he had not agreed. And thankfully he agreed. It is wonderful to see so many of you here this evening. I'm very grateful, and I'll be quite honest with you, it is very humbling for me to see all of you this evening. As I've said throughout my entire life, I am a very blessed man, and every day shows me that I am truly a blessed man. The people who have shaped my life, whether back when I was in the orphanage or in the foster care, they taught me that in every day and in every moment, what we give forward is more important than what we receive in return. And that is why I have chosen not to be an idle spectator to the destruction and the divisiveness of our current leaders, which they have perpetuated upon us. That is why I am here this evening, to embark on a new day with each of you, so the hopes and dreams of all Texans are finally delivered to us. But I know y'all didn't come out this evening just to see me or the food. You came out this evening because you too see a better path for Texas. You believe in the dream that is inclusive of all of us, a belief in the hope and the glory that is our own. You are here this evening because you will no longer allow single-minded politicians to use fear and intimidation to govern your life. We come together to show our current leaders we will not live in fear. For when they rule by fear, we rise with courage. When they promote discrimination, we celebrate diversity. When they come after our brothers and sisters with threats, we stand unwavered and protect that which is right. And when they raise our taxes and cut our services, we rise with a voice so loud in protest it penetrates the darkness. When they come once again to divide neighbor against neighbor and family against family, we grasp each other's hands tighter and show that no fear will ever penetrate our heart. And when they promote hate, we rise with a love that is born into our spirit. For these are the battles we face daily with our current leaders. Battles which have come to pass in a Texas we do not recognize anymore. But we're here tonight to rise up and say, enough. It's enough. For tonight, we begin our journey and say to our current leaders, we are here to take Texas back. It is time we change the narrative about our state and our leaders. Sanity and integrity must return to Texas government. And And no one person can accomplish this alone. It is a goal we must attain together. We have to rise and change their narrative by telling our stories, the real stories of Texas and the proud people who are a part of this state. Our breathtaking state not only inspires us with amazing vistas and gleaming cities, but with our stories. And real Texans are of every race and ethnicity, every age and ability, every religion, and every sexual orientation. For our differences aren't what pull us apart. They're the very fabric of what brings us together in a spirit of diversity, compassion, and finally, and most importantly, common sense. It's time these traits return to Texas government, as they are what truly represents each of us. Our government needs a return in real Texas values. Our values, integrity and honesty, equality and responsibility, as well as generosity, kindness, and family. The Texas I know and love is a place of possibilities and potential, tempered with the understanding that we are all in this together. Texas have a spirit of pride, determination, and true grit. And we always have. We share in the destiny of our state. Like the Lone Star, we are proud and strong on our own, but we know with our fellow Texans standing beside us, we can shine bright once again. To me, Texas is a big, wonderful family. A family who welcomed me in when I moved here after Hurricane Katrina. We are as colorful and diverse as our many cultures, and as strong as the combined talents and energies and strengths of every person here. And every family is known to argue from time to time. We're not going to get along every day, and that's okay. As long as we respect our differences and know that our diversity is what actually makes us greater. It's time for us to tell our stories. It's time we rise and regain the respect that we seem to have lost shortly after these career politicians took office. It's time we rise and change who represents us and show the world exactly who we are. We need to rise and begin a new chapter with a world-class educational system. We need to overhaul our public school financing system and put our children's education back in the hands of professional educators and remove the personal biases of the politicians. Just because our governor attended school doesn't mean he understands how to run one. So let's empower the professional educators and allow them to do their jobs and teach our children. Under my leadership, we will once again fund our schools and without lying the full responsibility at the feet of the local districts and without Texans paying higher property taxes. The Robin Hood program will come to an end. Because if there is a district with a shortfall, the state will step up like it's supposed to and do its job and provide the funding. Proper funding exists. You just need a leader that will lead the way. And the school voucher program will be labeled for exactly what it is, a scam. It is designed to take much needed funds from our public schools, taking it from our children and providing it to the wealthy. That's not going to happen under my watch. We need to rise and write a new chapter on the way we think of healthcare. Healthcare is not a privilege. Healthcare is the right of every individual. Because a healthy population is a productive population. And if the federal government can't get their act together and provide the real coverage we need, then as Texans, we're going to take care of ourselves. Healthcare is not an easy fix. It's not going to happen overnight. But it's time you had a governor who will sit down and work with the medical field, the insurance companies, to find a solution to our healthcare crisis. You don't deserve a governor who believes the best way to handle this crisis is just to kick more people off of healthcare. That is not a solution. And while we are discussing healthcare, we need to rise and write a strongly worded chapter with our mothers, our daughters, and our sisters for all women. We need to stop treating them like second-class citizens, especially when it comes to their health. A woman makes the decision about her body. End of story. We cannot allow the continued onslaught of legislation against women and their rights. And as your governor, any such legislation that crosses my desk, which restricts a woman's right to make decisions about her body or restricts access to proper health care, will be met with my immediate veto. And Mr. Abbott cannot say he values women when we have the highest rate of maternal mortality in our country and higher than any other developed country in the world. Texas women are literally dying. And yet our governor has done nothing more than to create and then promptly shut down a committee to figure out why this is happening. Newsflash, Governor, it's happening because we don't have leadership and common sense coming from your office. When you continue to take access to health care away from women, of course things are going to spiral out of control. Under my leadership, we will provide the care and the medication women need. And speaking of health, it is time we rise and allow medical marijuana to be genuinely accessible to individuals in need for health issues. The medical professionals have touted its benefits. It's time that politicians got out of the business of making healthcare decisions and allow our professionals to do their job. The cost of providing this to individuals is drastically less than prescription drugs, which doesn't settle well with the drug companies. But also the side effects versus prescription drugs are far less detrimental to the body. It's time the government allowed people such as vets with PTSD and individuals with other ailments to have an alternate, reasonable, and medically approved choice. We need to rise and have open, sincere discussions about what it's going to take to stop the mass murders in our nation. I believe in the right to bear arms. However, I also believe in the need to keep our population safe. Together is how we're going to find the solution. Events like what happened in Las Vegas, Sandy Hook, Columbine, and too many others are all events that if we work together for greater gun safety, I believe we can curtail these events, as well as find a way for those of us who own guns to continue to do so. But we have to be reasonable, and we have to be willing to have that discussion. I honestly believe we as a nation lost part of our soul when our government did not take any action for greater gun safety after the Sandy Hook tragedy. Children were taken from their families. Kindergartners were taken from their families. And our government said, now is not the time to take action. Las Vegas just happened, and our leaders say, now is not the time to take action. So when the hell is it time? And I say the time is now. We have to have this discussion. And it's not just about promoting gun safety. It is also about properly funding mental health programs. The solutions we seek and the solutions we need are multifaceted. And you deserve a governor who will begin that conversation, begin that discussion, and then work to achieve those solutions. We also need to rise and write a chapter where we face immigration policy realistically, where we must recognize the undocumented population of Texas is vital to our economy. Yet they are vulnerable and they are afraid because we do not offer realistic opportunities for citizenship. We need to work with the federal government to enact a comprehensive, compassionate immigration policy which is fair and inclusive. We need to make it possible for them to come out of the dark recesses of our society and be able and be free to live and reach for the American dream. And under my leadership, we will work with our federal representatives to ensure the U.S. Congress allows dreamers to continue to be an active, productive, connected, and respected part of our society. It's time Mr. Abbott stopped using the hardships and fear of undocumented individuals to score political points and to garner votes. Yes! A true leader does not ostracize and demean the people he represents. Instead, he works tirelessly to create solutions to the benefit of everyone. We need to rise and work to protect the natural resources of our state's land. Adopting sustainable business practices and developing sustainable energy resources are what we need to do so our children and their children will have the chance to love and cherish this beautiful state as much as we do. Providing environmental security and energy independence is a legacy our future generations deserve. We need a leader who listens to, works with, and believes the scientific fact that climate change is real. Mr. Abbott, get your head out of the sand and look at Port Arthur, look at Houston, look at Beaumont, look at our entire southern coast and try to convince any of them down there that climate change is a hoax. It's real. And we must put safeguards in place to protect our citizens. It's time our government takes action instead of merely reacting when the problem becomes too big for them to ignore. And it's time we rise and restore the democracy that is the basis of our founding fathers' hopes and aspirations for every one of us. This means gerrymandering and the repeated attempts to block citizens of Texans from participating in the election process must come to an immediate end. The theory our governor promotes is that there is massive, massive voter fraud. That doesn't coincide with the facts. There's been 3. Let me tell y'all something. It's not about voter fraud. It's about silencing your voice. And the people of Texas demand their voice back. And Mr. Abbott, since you won't give it to them, I will. It is time we rise and reform campaign financing in our state. We need to limit campaign contributions by special interest groups and lobbyists. The money they contribute to campaigns beg the question, who really is running Texas? Our finances must be fully transparent, and special interest groups as well as lobbyists need to keep their noses out of it. It's time we, the citizens, run Texas again. And speaking of finances, we need to rise and assure every working Texan a livable wage and safeguard their retirement. We need responsible labor practices in cooperation with our labor unions. Working together, we can keep our economy growing and our state excelling in a competitive global marketplace. We welcome and support big business in Texas, and we will work to foster even greater relationships with them. And at the same time, we will elevate our small businesses as they are the true backbone of our economy. And they should receive the same benefits as their larger counterpart. We need to rise and let hate know it has no home in Texas. I am a firm believer in the First Amendment, and I will always protect free speech. But the First Amendment does not give anyone the right to physically harm, intimidate, or murder one of our family members. Some of our politicians may turn a blind eye to hate, and actually their silence is quite deafening. But I'm putting these kinds of haters on notice. Under my administration, hate will not be tolerated in Texas. We need to rise and allow everyone the freedom to worship as they are guided in their hearts. However, even I, a God-loving man, believe in the separation of church and state. I understand for many, their values are based on their religious beliefs, and that is their guiding light. I respect each person's dedication to the love that religion brings to their lives. However, government cannot govern based on one religion and to the exclusion of all others. Government represents all, not just the few. For it is my belief, what I learned as a young child in the Methodist Church, we all have an equal seat at the table. We need to rise and take control of our state and local debt, which currently stands at $369 billion. We are the second highest in the nation. We are now projected to take over the #1 spot from California in 2018 with the largest amount of state and local debt. Our governor preaches that Texas is, quote, the nation's shining example of fiscal responsibility. Well, in the words of many Southern women I know, bless his heart. We're all from the South. We know what that means. And furthermore, when Texans take the knee, our body may be on one knee, but our spirit is standing tall against the hate we see before us on a daily basis. We take the knee with our brothers and sisters, for we are not snowflakes. We are not weak-minded, and we refuse to roll over and accept their lack of leadership, their discrimination, and their hate. We are strong Texans who believe in ourselves, our families, and our neighbors. We will not accept any Texan remaining beneath the feet of those in power, for we are stronger than they are. We have a voice which will drown out the oppression they seek to bestow upon us. We will rise, we will be heard, and we will prevail. It's time we make a change in Texas. Because like you, I see a glorious path in front of us, filled with opportunity, fairness, and compassion for all Texans. And I've never taken the words which I'm about to say more to heart than when I made this commitment to myself, my husband, and now to each of you. I am here this evening to announce my candidacy to become your 49th governor of the great state of Texas. It is time you rise and insist that your governor start working for all Texans, not just the select few. Your governor should not be wasting time and money creating poor solutions to non-existent problems, such as who is in the bathroom stall next to you. It is time you had a governor that got things done to the benefit of everyone. You deserve a governor who works for you every single day, not a governor who works solely for his next re-election campaign and his next big donor. Your governor should be working to clear the path for you so that you are able to make all of your dreams a reality. I believe deeply in Texas and those of us who live in our beautiful state. I believe in each and every one of you here this evening. And that is why I am here this evening and why I am asking you to join me. I am asking you to help me make this state the shining star of our republic once more. It's time to change the narrative, and together we have that power. I ask you to elect me as your next governor, and together we will all rise for Texas. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless Texas. way. Stick around. We're here till 10. Then I'll meet you in the Eagle.
Which way? Why not? You can make a run and jump. It's tuck and roll. It's tuck and roll.